Stop telling my. Yeah, I told you to stop that. It ain't nobody big. Oh, okay.
But yeah, she telling us.
Wait, when we get old, we tell. Oh, okay. God, we his blessing. According to the greatness of your compassion, let my transgression wash me completely from my guilt, cleanse me from my sin. Against you, you alone. We're gonna be quiet. And shalom, shalom, Give me for all of my wrong. Give me for all of my wickedness. Give me for all that I've done. You Yahweh, I will confess. Give me for all of my wrong. Give me for all of my wickedness. Give me for all that I've done. You, Yahweh, I will confess. We have transgressed and rebelled. You have not forgiven. We have transgressed and rebelled. You have not forgiven. We have transgressed and rebelled. You have not forgiven. We have transgressed and rebelled. You have not forgiven. Show me favor, O King, according to your mercy, according to the greatness of your compassion. Let all my transgressions wash me completely from my guilt. Cleanse me from my sin. Against you, you alone have a sin. And I'm evil in your eyes, that you might be proven right. In your word, be clear when you judge. See, I was wrong.
I say Shabbat Shalom to everyone here.
Shabbat
Shalom to the internet listening audience. I start off by giving all honor and praise to the Most High Yah by saying Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
As we prepare, ask everyone to stand as we chant our Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Echad. Hear, Israel, Yah Father is one.
Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Echad.
Hear, Israel, Yah Father is one. We will now have a congregational song. Lift every voice and sing. Praise the Almighty God.
Praise the Almighty God.
God is righteous.
God is righteous.
God is glory.
God is holy.
That Yahweh be magnified.
That Yahweh be magnified.
Next, everyone face to place where the Most High chose to place His holy and exalted name as we prepare to pray. Almighty Yah, we humbly come before you, Almighty Yah, on your Shabbat day, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, thank you for blessing us to be able to see one that we have not seen before, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that we're thankful for you blessing us to make it through the week to see another Shabbat day, Almighty Yah.
Yes.
Almighty Yah, I pray that you bless us mentally, Almighty Yah. I pray that you bless us physically, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that you heal our bodies, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, we are sick in some way, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that you continue to bless the leadership of the house of Israel, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that you continue to bless the leadership as far as the judges and officers of this congregation as well, Almighty Yah. And pray that when we're called upon, Almighty Yah, that we provide sound counsel, Almighty Yah, scripturally based and scripturally based alone, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that you continue to bless the poor, the sick, and the needy, Almighty Yah, the homeless, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, I pray that you continue to bless our Feed the Poor ministry, Almighty Yah. Almighty Yah, that we continue with the mindset. I pray that you continue to bless us with the mindset to do your will and honor you by helping someone less fortunate than us, Almighty Yah. And all these blessings we ask in your holy and exalted name. We shout, hallelujah,
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 hallelujah.
Praise the Almighty Yah.
Praise the Almighty Yah.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is holy.
Yah is holy.
And that Yah be magnified.
Yah will be magnified.
Right, you maybe see it. Let's we'll turn now to Psalms 148 as we will alternate reading from the 1st to the 14th verse. Praise ye Yah. Praise ye Yah from the heavens. Praise him in the heights.
Praise him, all you angels. Praise him, all you hosts.
Praise ye him, sun and moon. Praise ye him, all you stars of light.
Praise him, you heaven of heaven, and you water be above the heaven.
Let them praise the name of Yah, for he commanded, and they were created.
Yah sits forever and ever, and may your creature not pass.
Praise Yah from the earth, ye dragons and all deep.
Fire and hail, snow and raven, storm and wind fulfilling his word.
Mountains and all hills, fruitful trees and all cedars.
Beasts and all cattle, creeping things and flying fowls.
Kings of the earth and all people, princes and judges of the earth.
Both young men and maidens, old men and children.
Let them praise the name of Yah, for his name alone is excellent. His glory is above the earth and heaven.
Yah also is the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise Yah.
Let's all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We will now have a congregational song, soon and very soon.
Soon and very soon.
Soon and very soon, we are going to Israel. Soon and very soon, we are going to Israel. Soon and very soon, we are going to Israel. going to Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're going to Israel. David will be our king. We are going to Israel. David will be our king. We are going to Israel. David will be our king. We are going to Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're going to Israel. God will take us there. God will take us there. We are going to Israel. God will take us there. God will take us there. We are going to Israel. God will take us there. God will take us there. We are going to Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're going to Israel. Soon and very soon. We are going to Israel. Soon and very soon. We are going to Israel. Soon and very soon. We are going to Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're going to Israel.
Hallelujah.
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 Praise the Almighty God.
Praise the Almighty God.
God is righteous.
God is righteous.
God is holy.
God is holy.
May God be magnified.
God be magnified.
I just want to turn me now to Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, as we will alternate reading from the 1st to the 13th verse. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments.
For lengthened days and long life and peace shall be added unto thee.
Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart.
So shall thou find faith and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and man.
Trust in Yah with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
Be not wise in thy own eyes, fear Yah, and depart from evil.
It shall be health to thy neighbor and mark to thy bones.
Honor Yah with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase.
So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy press shall burst out with new wine.
My son, despise not the chastening of Yah, neither be weary of his correction.
One whom God will be corrected, even as the Father and the Son whom he doth delight.
Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. That's all. Say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Actually, I want to turn me now to Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, as we read in unison from the 1st through the 8th verse. And it reads, Now therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments, which I teach you, for to do them, that you may live, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh Elohim of your fathers giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yah, your Elohim, which I command you. For your eyes have seen what Yah did because of the pagan did. For all the men that follow the pagan deities, Yah Elohim hath destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto Yah, your Elohim, are alive every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land which you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath Elohim so nigh unto them, as Yah our Elohim is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments, so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? That's all. Say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In the same book of Deuteronomy, actually I want to turn me now to the 10th chapter, And we're reading in unison from the 12th through the 22nd verse. And it reads, and now, Israel, what does Yahweh Elohim require of thee? But to fear Yahweh Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yahweh Elohim with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh, and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens is Yahweh Elohim, the earth also, with all that therein is. Only Yah had delighted thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For Yahweh Elohim is the Elohim of deities, a master of masters, a great Elohim, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not a person, nor taketh reward. He doth execute the judgment of the fatherless and the widow, and loveth the stranger, in giving him food and raiment. Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt fear Yahweh Elohim, him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave, and swear by his name. He is thy praise, and he is thy Elohim, that has done these great and terrible things, which thine eyes have seen. Thy fathers were gone into Egypt with 70 persons, and now Yahweh Elohim has made thee as the stars of heaven for a multitude. That's how I'll say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That's when we ask everyone to turn with me now to Numbers, the 15th chapter, as we read in unison, the 37th to the 41st verse. And it reads, and Yah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generation. And they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue, and it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of Yah, and do them, and that you seek not after your own eyes, after which you use the horn, that you remember all my commandments, and be holy unto your Elohim. I am Yah your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your Elohim. I am Yah your Elohim. And it's all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We will now have a congregational song. We're marching to Zion.
We're marching, we're marching, we're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
We're marching.
We're marching, we're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
We that love you, Yah.
Oh yeah.
And let our joy be known.
Oh yeah.
God in us song of sweet accord. Everyone around the throne. We're marching.
We're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
We're marching.
We're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
Let those refuse to sing.
Oh yeah.
Who never knew you, Yah.
Oh yeah.
You know the children of
Israel may keep their joy apart.
We're marching.
We're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
We're marching.
We're marching up to Zion.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful city of Yah.
Let's all say hallelujah.
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 Praise the Almighty Yah.
Praise Yah.
Hallelujah.
Yah's righteous.
Yah
God is right.
Yah's holy.
God is holy.
Let Yah be magnified.
God will be magnified.
Ask everyone to please stand and face the place which the Most High chose to place His holy and exalted name, and we read the 10 Commandments in unison. And they read, and Elohim spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh Elohim, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have before me. Thou shalt not make it to any great image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, and in the earth beneath, or there is the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am thy name, and the jealous of Elohim, visit the iniquity of the fathers
to the children, to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me,
and show mercy to them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh in vain. Yahweh not hold the guilty to take the name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day and keep it holy. 6 days shall I labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Shabbat of Yahweh head. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that are in thy gates. For in 6 days thou made the heaven and the earth, the sea and all that in the fields, and the rest of the 7th day. Wherefore thou bless the Shabbat day and holiday. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh giveth thee. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his maidservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. Let's all say hallelujah.
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 Praise the Almighty Yah.
Praise Almighty Yah.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is holy.
Yah is holy.
May Yah be magnified.
May Yah be magnified.
You may be seated. And now place your hands on the choir.
Guess who's coming? Guess who's coming? Who's coming? I said the Hebrews are coming to the Sabbath today. Well, I look so young and who did I see? The Hebrews are coming to the Sabbath today. You know it looks like the children from Israel. The Hebrews are coming to the Sabbath today. Oh, guess who's coming? Yeah. Guess who's coming? Yeah, guess who's coming? I said the Hebrews are coming to the Sabbath today. Why don't we praise Almighty Yah? Come on, praise Almighty Yah. Praise Almighty Yah. The Hebrews are coming to the Sabbath today. Hallelujah. Let your light shine, shine, shine. Let your light shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Let your light shine, shine, shine. Let your light shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Let it shine on you, shine, shine, shine. Let it shine on me, shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Let your light shine, shine, shine. Let your light shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Let it shine on the Sabbath, shine, shine, shine. Let it shine in your home, shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Let your light shine, shine, shine. Let your light shine, shine, shine. You know I'm trying so hard to make it to the promised land, to the promised land. Shabbat shalom. I was weak and weary. I have gone astray, walking in darkness. I could not find my way. Seeing a light came shining to keep my head up high. Once again I'm happy. Let me tell you the reason why. Oh, I found the answer, and I learned to pray. With your love to guide you, you'll find a way. When the sun is shining for a bright day, you'll find the answer. When you learn to pray, read your Bible, read it every day. All about your love, it's also come through and make a way. Call upon Yahweh, He is standing by. His love will make you happy. Let me tell you the reason why. Oh, I found the answer, and I learned to pray. With your love to guide you, you'll find a way. When the sun is shining for a bright day, you'll find the answer. When you learn to pray, I will weak and weary. I have gone astray, walking in darkness. I could not find my way. Seeing a light came shining, keep my head up high. Once again I'm happy. Let me tell you the reason why. Oh, I found the answer, and I learned to pray. It's your love to guide you, you'll find a way. When the sun is shining for a bright day, you'll find the answer. When you learn to pray, read your Bible, yes, yes. Read it every day. All about your love, it's all will come through and make a way. Call upon Yahweh, He is standing by. This God will make you happy. Let me tell you the reason why. Oh, I found the answer, and I learned to pray. With your love to guide you, you'll find a way. When the sun is shining for a bright day, you'll find the answer. When you learn to pray.
Let us magnify Yah together by shouting hallelujah.
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 Praise the mighty Yah.
Praise Almighty Yah.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is holy.
Yah is holy.
Let Yahweh be magnified.
Let Yah be magnified.
All right, everyone, please stand as I place you in the hands of our leader of the House of Israel of Jackson, Mississippi, handpicked by a late great leader, Minister Herman Taylor. I present to everyone Moray Yosef, Israel. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Would all of our elders please have a seat? As always, we want to give honor and praise to the Creator for you. We thank the Most High for you and all that you do. And we pray that the Most High will continue to bless you with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of His words. Let us all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Everyone else, please have a seat. We want to make sure that we pray for the sick. My wife, Carmela, she's not feeling well. I want everybody to pray for her. My mother, Jerry, for all of those who are sick, all of those who are in need, all of those who need prayer. We want you to pray for them and that the Most High will continue to be with them. Let us all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Today I want to talk about, first of all, let me just say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Y'all just sound enthusiastic.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Amen. Praise my
Praise
God.
Him brought you through another year.
Yes, He has.
And, we have to make sure that we give honor and praise to the Most High.
Yes, hallelujah.
Because He have allowed us to see another year that we wasn't here. So we just thank the Creator for all that He do.
Yes.
And all the blessings that He give.
Yes.
And we have coming up the Passover and unleavened bread. And I want us to deal with the Passover. Talk about it. The word Passover comes from the Hebrew word pikah, which means to hop or skip over, or to spare. This is the time of the year that the Creator passed over the children of Israel and struck all the firstborn of Egypt. And a lot of people look at the fact that the Creator killed the firstborn, but that wasn't what it was all about. It was all about the children of Israel being delivered from Egypt. It was about our deliverance. And you hate the fact that it had to go down with people being killed. But you also have to look at a nation was being born. And the Creator talked to us about this time of the year. And He told us what it was all about and what we needed to do. I want us to go to Exodus, the 12th chapter. And we're going to spend a little time in Exodus, the 12th chapter. Because the Creator go into detail of what He wants us to do. And when you look at the first 20 verses, the Creator is telling you, this is what I want you to do. And when you get into the land, I want you to continue to do the same thing. in Exodus, the 12th chapter, the first verse, he says, "And Yah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." And what this tells me is that other people had other times of the year that they followed. They had other calendars, or whatever you want to call it. They had something that they was going by that was different from what the Creator is telling us here. And he's saying to you, this is the beginning of the month. He's not worried about what somebody else is doing. But to you, Israel, this is what I want you to follow. He said, "Speak unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their father, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats." Here the Creator is telling you this lamb or this goat, either one, this is when they was in the land of Egypt. Now when they got in the land of Israel, he included a calf. So this is a sacrifice. Now when they was in the land of Egypt, the priest office was not set up. The Levites hadn't been established. So everybody, all the men, could partake in this sacrifice. They can go out and make this sacrifice and eat it in their home. And we have to make sure that people understand. Because you have people now saying that according to this, everybody can make a sacrifice. Think about that. The Creator gave a law that the only somebody who can make a sacrifice are the priests. And because of this, everybody can make a sacrifice on this day. It say, "Ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening." Notice what he said. That the sacrifice shall be killed in the evening of the 14th day. And they shall take the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorposts of the house, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roasted with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Now notice where they were, because I'm taking you somewhere and I want you to get an understanding. Notice where they were when they ate it. They were in their homes, and they had to stay in their homes all night. They could not leave out of their home. Why? Because if they had left out of their homes, they would have been what? They would have been killed. And that's very important that people understand that. They could not leave out of their homes. It say, eat not of it raw, nor salt at all with water, but roast it with fire, with his head, with his legs, and with the pertinence therein. That means that all the internal organs, the heart, the liver, the intestines, everything's still in there. Roast them whole. That's why you put them up on the 10th day to clean them out. And you couldn't break down one of his bones.
Yep.
It's saying, ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning, ye shall burn with fire. If anything left when the sun come up, you ought to burn it. Do not eat it. Thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yah's Passover. In other words, on this particular day, you got to be dressed, ready to go. Because you're getting ready to be kicked out of the land. So you got to be ready to go. Pharaoh done made up his mind. It's time to go. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. Against all the deeds of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yah. And the blood shall be to you a token, a sign upon the houses where you are. And where I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. That's what the blood is all about. The blood is to put over your doors so the Creator will pass over you and kill all the firstborn of Egypt. It's not about anything else that people want to say that it's about. Now that's the Passover. Now let's look at unleavened bread. And this, the Creator is telling us what to do. He said, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast of Yah throughout your generation. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. He's telling us about it before it even happened. Because he hadn't gotten to the elders to tell them to go do this yet. He's just telling Moses what to tell the people. He says, 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leaven, bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So from the first day to the 7th day, you shouldn't be eating leaven. And say in the first day, now this is the key. In the first day, there shall be a holy convocation. And in the 7th day, there shall be a holy convocation unto you. No matter of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only must he do. Now, if you're going to keep unleavened bread, you need to make sure that you keep this first day of Sabbath and have a holy convocation. And you need to make sure you keep the 7th day of Sabbath and keep it a holy convocation. You can't say, well, oh, you can only do this part right here in the land, but you can do everything else anywhere. No, if you're going to keep unleavened bread and you saying anybody can make the sacrifice, then you can make the sacrifice right here. And keep this day, the first day, keep the people away from work, and the 7th day, keep the people away from work. Because the Creator tells us to keep the first day and the 7th day. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this self-same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore ye shall observe this day in your generation by an ordinance forever. So when did we come out of the land of Egypt? On the 15th day of that first month. This is the day after the Passover that the children of Israel came out of Egypt. And what this is about is us coming out of Egypt. Yes, the Passover happened where all the firstborn was killed. That's one. But also it's talking about us being delivered. We have to look at both of them. It says in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. So here we have you eating unleavened bread from the 14th at evening until the 20th. So you don't start eating unleavened bread on the 15th. You start eating unleavened bread on the 14th. Because that's when the Passover took place. We trying to separate them, but they go together. How are you going to say you can keep one, but you can't keep the other? It says 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Now let's look at that. It says no leaven found in your houses. In some verses, it says no leaven found in your coats. So if you take the leaven out and put it in an old car in the back of your yard, or put it in a storage room in the backyard, that's still in your dwelling. You just got some expensive meal and you don't want to throw it away. So you go put it in the backyard and say, I done took it out of my house. You being a hypocrite. You trying to have it both ways. You should not eat nothing leavened. In all your habitation shall you eat unleavened bread. Now it say all your habitation. So if we in America and they got leaven in all of these stores, And then you're going to go take it out of all the stores? See, we want to pick and choose. So look at what Moses called the elders and do. It say, then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. Go get a lamb and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. Don't leave out until morning. For Yah will pass through to smite the Egyptian, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, and Yah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. If you put the blood up, you're going to be protected. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye be come to the land which Yah will give you, according as he has promised, that ye shall keep this service. When you go to the land, you make sure you keep this. You make sure that you do this. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yah, Yah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptian, and delivered our houses and the people. Bow the head and worship. Now, notice, this is the Passover sacrifice. Ask yourself the question, can we, little old us, make a sacrifice in this land? Or do we have to have priests to make a sacrifice? And do we have to be in the land in Jerusalem to make a sacrifice? Or can we just do it anywhere because I feel like it? One of the reasons our people was thrown out of the land. They was thrown out of the land because they was trying to make sacrifices under every green tree. Now, when our foreparents was in Egypt, and the priest and the Levite had not been established, yes, our people could make a sacrifice. But once the law was given, could we still make a sacrifice? Or did the Creator give us instructions on who could make sacrifices? And I say the Creator gave us instructions on who could give sacrifices. It say, and the children of Israel went away and did as Yah had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight, Yah smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne, unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night. Now Pharaoh, when he seen all of this going on, he got up. he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night. Pharaoh couldn't wait. He went there, he sent somebody there that night and said, rise up and get ye forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go and serve Yah as you have said. Now Pharaoh said, look, you need to go ahead on with this. You go, if you want to go and serve Yah, you go ahead on. Because we can't do nothing with you. You whooping up on us too bad. You done took it to another level. You done killed our firstborn. So you get up out of here. Also take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone. Oh, and by the way, bless me also. Don't just leave. And I know he's with you. So I need you to bless me. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. Why do they want to send them out in haste? Because they're killing them. For they said, we'd all be dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, and kneading trough, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. They leaving, hadn't had time to let the bread leaven, and they getting up out of it. And the children of Israel did according to the words of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptian jewelry of silver and jewelry of gold and raiment. Now I'm going to tell y'all something. When you borrow something, the person that you borrowed it from, what? They expect it back, right? So they wasn't borrowing nothing. They were taking what they wanted. Because they wasn't planning on giving it back. Now, it might have been some Egyptian giving them some things, but they was taking it.
Yep.
Because they had no intention of giving it back or coming back. And God gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Now, how can you lend them something and spoil them at the same time? Some of the people was giving it to them, the rest, they was taken. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Sikkoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude also went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. So here you have the children of Israel coming out. When they say 600,000 men, it's talking about men of war. They come out 600,000 strong, an army. When you're looking at women and children and old men, you're looking at least a couple of million people coming out. And here it tells you that the children of Israel came out with much cattle. And we know they had a whole lot of cattle when they was in the wilderness. But yet, they were starving. Off and on. How is that possible? Because they wasn't like you and I. They wasn't eating meat like we eat. We love to eat meat. We wouldn't have had, the first year, all of them been gone. meat like we eat it. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt. For it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not tarry. Neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelled in Egypt was 430 years. Now notice what it said. And you got a lot of people say, well, this is talking about the thing that the Creator said to Abraham. This is what it's talking about right here. Well, it say 430 years. But not only that, the children of Israel went in captivity for 430 years. Let's just do the math. If you do the math, you know that Moses was born when Aaron was 3 years old. So we know the killing of the firstborn had not started when Aaron was born. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house. Left Pharaoh's house, went and got married in Midian and come back. He was 80 years old. Now, let's just do the math. When he come back at 80 years old, Aaron was 83. If you do the math, the most you can get out of it is 81 or 82 years old. 82 years that they was in bondage. You will not get 400 years. How do I know that? Because the scriptures say that there was a Pharaoh that rose up who knew not Joseph. Yeah. And that's when the punishment started. That's when the slavery started, when the one that came up that knew not Joseph. Yeah. And it couldn't have been 400 years. You have to remember, Joseph was second in command in Egypt. He was second only to Pharaoh. But this is even better. In this land, in exactly 400 years, that's when the coronavirus hit. That's when you start seeing all of this stuff going on with the weather, the fires, earthquakes. And we see it still going, gas prices out the roof. The Creator said that he was going to judge the nation. And he also said he was going to punish us. So people say, well, why are we being punished? Because he said we was going to be punished. Yeah. But here, it was 430 years. And they came out. So let's look at it. Look at what happened in exactly 430 years. It said, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self-same day, it came to pass that all the host of Yah went out from the land of Egypt. They went out. And when did they go out? They went out on the 15th. And they must have went out at night. Why do I say that? Because the 42nd verse say, It is a night to be much observed unto Yah for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Yah to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generation. The night that they came out. That's what to be observed. Us coming out bondage, out of captivity. And Yah said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So if you wasn't born in the land and you wasn't Israel, you couldn't eat of it. Every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. So if you done bought a person and he your slave, you done purchase him, you can circumcise him and he can eat of it. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. So if you just done hired somebody on, or somebody's from another country, they can't eat of the Passover. It says, in one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone therein. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to Yah, let all his males be circumcised. In other words, if you got somebody who's born in the land and they want to keep the Passover, every last one of them have to be circumcised. And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. No uncircumcised person. So if you're not circumcised, you can't even be a part of the Passover. One law shall be for him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourn among you. One law is to be kept the same way. Thus did the children of Israel, as Yah commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their arm. When? The selfsame day. What day was that? The 15th. And to let you know that the Creator is telling you this is the day that you're going to have to remember. This is the day I want you to remember. I want you to remember your deliverance. Look at what it says in Exodus 13, verse 3. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day. What day is he talking about? The 15th. In which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yah brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month of Abib. The 15th day is the day of our deliverance. And it shall be when Yah shall bring thee into the land of Canaan, of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. Make sure you keep the day that you came out of the land of Egypt. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to Yah. So you make sure you make that feast to the Most High and rest. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be any leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. In all thy quarters. That means every part of your house, your land. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Yah did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that Yah's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand has Yah brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. This is when the Creator brought us out. He brought us out on the 15th day. That's the day that we should make sure that our people understand. That our people understand how important this 15th day is. In fact, look at what the Creator tells us in Numbers. In Numbers, the 33rd chapter. In the 3rd verse. It says, they departed from Ramses in the 1st month, on the 15th day of the 1st month, on the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. They went out on the 15th. Their deliverance was on the 15th. Some people think their deliverance was on the 14th because the firstborn was killed. No, it was when Yah brought you out. So look at what the Creator tells us in Exodus, the 34th chapter. In the 18th verse. It says, the feast of unleavened bread shall I keep. 7 days shall I eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee in the time of the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. He wants you to keep that day. He wants you to keep that week. But it's important that we understand where we're supposed to keep it. So look at what the Creator tells us in Numbers. In Numbers, the 28th chapter. In the 16th verse. It says, in the 14th day of the 1st month is the Passover of Yah. And in the 15th day of this month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. In the 1st day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no manner of servile work therein. Once again, if you keep an unleavened bread or you stand off your job on this day, because it's a holy convocation. And go to the 25th verse. I'm not going to even show you the sacrifices. But look at what the 25th verse says. And on the 7th day, ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work. Are you having a holy convocation on that day? Are you staying away from your job on that day? On our feast days, these days was great celebration. And when our foreparents, when they had a feast days, one thing I can say about black folks, we knew how to party. It was one big party. Let's go to Psalms 81. In Psalms 81, verse 1. It says, sing aloud unto Yah, our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Jacob. Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpets in the new moon, in the time appointed in our solemn feast day. For this is a statute for Israel, and a law of the Elohim of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony, when he went out through the land of Egypt, where he heard a language that he understood not. I moved his shoulder from the burden. His hand was delivered from the power.
Yes, yes, yes.
So in our feast days, it was a celebration. And Israel came to Jerusalem. And it was one big party. In the name of Yah. So let's look at Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. See about these feast days. In Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, the 4th verse, it says, these are the feasts of Yah, even holy convocation, which you shall proclaim in their season. In the 14th day of the first month at evening is Yah's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yah. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work, no kind of work whatsoever. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yah 7 days. And the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work. You're going to make an offering to the Most High. First day and the 7th day, a holy convocation. You ought to do no work in it. Now I know somebody says, well, they make a sacrifice on the Sabbath day. They made a sacrifice every day. But these sacrifices was beside the sacrifices that was made. So can we make a sacrifice of the Passover outside of the land, outside of Jerusalem? And I know what people are going to say, well, they made one in Egypt. They're going to say, well, they made one up on Mount Sinai. On Mount Sinai, they was in the presence of the Most High. They made one that's recorded one time. And let's look at it in Numbers, the 9th chapter. Numbers, the 9th chapter, the first verse. And this was in the 2nd year after they had came out of Egypt. It said, Yah spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the 1st month of the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at evening shall you keep it at his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. It said according to all. So some people say, well, it doesn't say unleavened bread right here, so that means that you can separate it. But it says according to all the rites of it and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover, and they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the 1st month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yah commanded Moses, so did the children of Israel. They say, well, look, it don't mention nothing about unleavened bread. So that means they didn't keep it because it don't mention it. The scripture says, here a little and there a little. And we're going to see other examples where when they kept it, they always kept them together. They didn't keep them separate. It's saying there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. These men was unclean because they had touched the dead body. And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore we kept back, that we may not offer an offering unto Yah in his appointed season among the children of Israel. And Moses said unto them, stand still, you stay here, and I will hear what Yah will command concerning you. Let me see what the Creator is going to tell them. And Yah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you, of your posterity, or your children, shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be on a far journey, or far off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Yah. When? Because he's unclean. He's on a far journey. So when can he keep it? The 14th day of the 2nd month at evening they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. So here we have, they couldn't keep it the 1st month. Why? Because they was unclean. So they kept it the 2nd month. Now what if you're still unclean? What if you're still on a far journey? Can you keep it? If you're still on a far journey, if you're still unclean, can you keep the Passover? Or can you keep unleavened bread? He said, they shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinance of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not on a journey, listen to what he said. If you're not on a journey and forbear to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of Yah in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin, because he wouldn't bring it. And if a stranger sojourn among you, and will keep the Passover unto Yah according to all the ordinance of the Passover, and according to all the manners thereof, shall he do? You shall have one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that is born in the land. So the Creator is telling us what to do. He's letting us know that if you're on a journey, you can't keep it. And I'm asking you, are you on a journey? Or are you in the lane? Look at Numbers. In Numbers, the 10th chapter. And to show you the partying thing, the blowing up the trumpet, the showing the people that they should be glorifying the Most High on this day. That's a law. The psalmist wasn't just saying it to say it. It's a law. In Numbers 10 and 10, it says, also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, ye shall blow with the trumpet over your burnt offering, over your sacrifices of your peace offering, that they may be for you, and for a memorial before Elohim. I am Yah, your Elohim. And listen, when they left out of Sinai, this is when they left. They left during the second month of on the 20th day. That's when they left Sinai going into the promised land. Right after Moses had told them about the Passover. And they left at the same time. It says, and they came to pass on the 20th day of the second month, in the second year, that the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony. And the children of Israel took their journey out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. And they first took their journey according to the commandment of Yah by the hand of Moses. So it was during this same time that they left Sinai. Just showing it was dates in the Bible. Look at Exodus. Exodus, the 23rd chapter. And we're going to start reading at the 15th verse. It says, thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command thee, in the time appointed of the month Aviv. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. The Creator let you know that this is when you came out. And then you are to come before him. And you can't come before him what? Empty. Let's go to Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. And we're going to start in the first verse. It says, observe the month of Aviv, and keep the Passover unto Yah thy Elohim. For in the month of Aviv, Yah thy Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. It said, thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yah thy Elohim of the flock and of the herd. And the what? In the what? In America. In the place which Yah shall choose to place his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shall I eat unleavened bread. What? You mean to tell me you have to eat the 7 days of unleavened bread with the Passover? Mm-hmm. 7 days shall I eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. And there shall be no leaven bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days. Notice what it says. All thy coasts. You know what coast means? All your territory. Wherever you are. You got to take the bread, unleavened bread out. Wherever you are. Neither shall there be anything of the, neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou shalt sacrifice the first day at evening remain all night until the morning. So he letting you know what you need to do. Thou mayest not, let me say that again. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Yah thy Elohim giveth thee. You just can't do it anywhere. So people right here keeping the Passover? Really? You just gonna disregard what the Creator said? But at the place which Yah thy Elohim shall choose to place his name, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast it and eat it in the place which Yah thy Elohim shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tents. He's telling you what to do. "6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Yah thy Elohim. Thou shalt not work therein." 7 days is holy. Now let's go to verse 16. We're going to skip down to verse 16. It says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh, thy Elohim, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of what? So where we eat the unleavened bread? In the feast of weeks and in the feast of tabernacles, they shall not appear before Yah empty. Every man should give as he is able, according to all the blessing of Yah, the Elohim, which he has given thee. It should be in the place. Now let's look at how some of our forefathers kept it. And I want you to understand, our forefathers was human. And they didn't keep it exactly the way that the Most High told them to keep it. But they give you an idea of how our forefathers kept it. An idea. Because some of the things that they was doing, it wasn't right. Because some of the people was keeping it and they wasn't clean. But because the king prayed over, they said it was all right. No. The Creator told you if you was unclean. He told you what to do. But, you know, they said the Creator accepted it. So we're going to go to 2 Chronicles, the 30th chapter. And let me just say again, some of this stuff is not according to the law. So when you bring it up to them, well, they weren't doing the right, but they got some wrong and some of it is right. But you know what's good about the writer? He will tell you that, hey, this is one way it's supposed to be. 2 Chronicles, the 30th chapter. Listen at what it says. And this is Hezekiah. Hezekiah was a righteous king. And he was doing his best to try to do what's right. And look at what he did. Now, I want you to look at this because they are in the land. They are in the land. And still, they couldn't sacrifice anywhere. 2 Chronicles, the 30th chapter, the first verse, it says, Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Yehudah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of Yah at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto Yah, Elohim of Israel. They should come where? To the house of Yah, where? In Jerusalem. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation of in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month. Why they couldn't keep it in the first month? They couldn't keep it in the first month because they was unclean. So they decided, hey, we're going to get ourselves together in the first month, and then we're going to get all the people here, and then we're going to keep it. So look at what happened. It says, for they could not keep it at that time because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto Yah Elohim of Israel at Jerusalem. For they had not done it of a long time in search salt as it was written. So look at what happened. So the post went out. So the post went with the letter from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Yehudah. And according to all the commandments of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto Yah, Elohim of Abraham, Yishkar, Yaakov, and he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the land, out of the hand of the king of Assyria. Listen. And be not ye like your fathers, and like your brethren, which trespass against Yah Elohim of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation as you see. Don't be like your fathers. Don't be hard-headed and stiff-necked like them. Now be ye not stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves unto Yah, and enter into his sanctuary, which he hath sanctified forever. Let me read that again. Enter into his sanctuary, which he has sanctified. For how long? Forever. And serve Yah your Elohim, that the fierceness of his wrath may turn away from you.
Amen. Hallelujah.
For if you turn again unto Yah, your brethren and your children shall find compassion before him that lead them captive, so that they shall come again into the land. For Yah your Elohim is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you if you return unto him.
Thank you.
So the post passed from city to city through the countries of Ephraim and Manasseh, even unto Zebulun. But what? They laughed them to scorn and mocked them. They were laughing at them. They trying to get them to come to Jerusalem, and they laughing at them. So nevertheless, divers of Asher and Manasseh and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Also in Judah, the hand of Elohim was to give them one heart to do the commandment of the king and of the princes by the word of Yah. And there assembled at Jerusalem much people to keep the feast of unleavened bread. In the second month, a very great congregation. So they kept unleavened bread in the second month. If they could keep it, if they could split it up, why didn't they just keep one of them in the first month and the other one in the second month? That would have been the logical thing to do to me, if you can split them up. But they didn't split it up. They kept them at the same time. They could have said, well, I'm unclean, so I'll just keep the Passover, or I'll just keep unleavened bread, and then do the other one in the second month. Or as some people are saying, because it didn't say Passover, because it didn't say unleavened bread in Numbers, they say, well, they didn't keep it because it don't say it. Come on. And they arose and took their way. The altar that were in Jerusalem and all the altars for incense took their way and cast them into the brook Kindred. Then they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the second month, and the priests and the Levites were ashamed and sanctified themselves and brought in the burnt offerings into the house of Yah. And they stood in their place after the manner, according to the law of Moses, the man of Elohim. The priests sprinkled the blood which they received of the hands of the Levites. Here we have everything in order. The priests and the Levites. And for somebody to say that anybody can make a sacrifice anywhere, that don't make sense. It does not make sense. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. In 2 Chronicles, the 35th chapter. Look at what it says in the first verse. It says, and moreover, Josiah kept a Passover unto Yah in Jerusalem. And they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. Listen. And he set the priests in their charge and encouraged them to the service of the house of God. The priests and the Levite did what they supposed to do. You didn't have me and anybody just going and making a sacrifice. And said unto the Levites that taught all Israel, which was holy unto Yah, put the holy ark. The ark wasn't even in the house of Yah. The priest was carrying it around. Put the holy ark in the house which Solomon the son of David, king of Israel, did build. It should not be a burden upon your shoulders. Serve now Yah, your Elohim, and his people Israel. The priest was still carrying the ark around. And prepare yourselves by the house of your fathers after your courses, according to the writing of David, king of Israel, and according to the writing of Solomon, his son, and stand in the holy place according to the division of the family of the fathers of your brethren, the people, and after the division of the families of the Levites. So kill the Passover, sanctify yourselves, and prepare your brethren, that they may do according to the words of Yah by the hand of Moses. Levites, I want you to do your responsibility according to the writings of Moses. And Josiah gave to the people of the flock lambs and kids, all for the Passover offering for all that were present, to the number of 30,000 and 3,000 bullocks. These were of the king's substance. This is what the king gave. And his princes gave willingly unto the people, to the priests and to the Levites, Hilkiah and Zechariah, Jehiel, rulers of the house of Elohim, gave unto the priests for the Passover offering 2,600 small cattle and 300 oxen. Conaniah also and Shemaiah and Nethaniah, his brethren, and Hashabiah and Yael and Josabad, chief of the Levites, gave unto the Levites for Passover offerings 5,000 small cattle and 500 oxen. So the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites in their course, according to the king's commandments. And they killed the Passover, and the priests sprinkled the blood from their hand, and the Levites slayed them. So here you have the priests and the Levites taking on their responsibility. And they removed the burnt offering that they might give according to the division of the families of the people, to offer unto Yah as it is written in the book of Moses. So did they with the oxen. And they roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance, but the other holy offerings saw they in pots and in cauldrons and in pans, and divided them speedily among the people. And afterwards they made ready for themselves for the priests, because the priests' sons of Aaron were busy in offering burnt offering and fat until night. Therefore the Levites prepared for themselves and for the priests, the sons of Aaron. We see the order of how things are supposed to go. We don't suppose to be making no sacrifices in this land. And let's look at our forefathers when they came into the land. This is when the children of Israel, let's go to Joshua. This is when the children of Israel came up out of the wilderness of Moab and came into the promised land. They had crossed over the Jordan and had made it to the land. And look at what happened. In Joshua 5 and verse 2, it says, at that time, Yah said unto Joshua, make these sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. Why is this important? Because when they was in Egypt, everybody who left Egypt was circumcised. And what we have to understand is that the Egyptians, they circumcised all their males. So Israel, when they left out of Egypt, they were circumcised. But when they got into the wilderness, for some reason, they didn't circumcise their children. And it say, Joshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the heel of the foreskin. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war died in the wilderness. By the way, after they came out of Egypt, now all the people that came out were circumcised. All the people that came out of Egypt were circumcised. But all the people that was born in the wilderness, by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. Now, for some reason, Moses didn't circumcise the people. So they couldn't keep the Passover in the wilderness. They didn't try to keep the Passover in the wilderness. It says, for the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, to all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of Yah, unto whom Yah sware that he would not show them the land, which Yah sware unto their fathers that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised. For they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp, till they were whole. They couldn't move, they couldn't walk. And I understand, because I was 22 years old. And Yah said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal unto this day. They had a reproach on them because they hadn't circumcised the people. So we need to be circumcised if we're not circumcised already. And I'm going to leave you with this one. Look at Ezra. Ezra and them went through the same type of captivity that we went to. But guess what? When they came back, they hadn't been keeping the Passover or unleavened bread. Hadn't kept it. In Ezra, the 6th chapter, and the 9th verse. Ezra, the 6th chapter, and the 19th verse. It says, and the children of the captivity kept the Passover upon the 14th day of the first month. For the priests and the Levites were purified together. All of them were pure, and killed the Passover for all the children of the captivity, and for their brethren, the priests, and for themselves. And the children of Israel which were come again out of captivity, and all such that had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land, to seek Yah, Elohim of Israel, did eat, and kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy. For Yah had made them joyful, and turned the hearts of the king of Assyria unto them, to strengthen their hands in the work of the house of Elohim, the Elohim of Israel. Our forefathers, when they came out of captivity, that's when they kept the Passover. That's when they kept unleavened bread. How can we keep something that's holy and clean? And the Creator told us, there's only one place I want you to do this. That's in the land. Now I can see if he had said anywhere. But he said the only place I want you to keep this is in the land. So either we're gonna do what he say, or we're gonna do what we say. We got to do what Yah say. Any questions? I want to thank you. May the Creator bless you. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's magnify Yah together by shout hallelujah.
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 Praise the Almighty Yah.
Praise the Almighty Yah.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is righteous.
Yah is holy.
Yah is holy.
And let Yah be magnified.
Let Yah be magnified.
All right, everyone, you may be seated. A quick couple of announcements. As Maury stated, the 5th day of this past week, we did start our new year. On the heathen's calendar is March 31st. The Passover, April 14th, 2022. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, April 15th through the 21st, 2022. And also, I'd remind everyone that we are feeding the poor tomorrow. We do that every first day. We start at 11 a.m. For those who are who like to donate monetarily, I ask that you can cash out at $HOYMS. And if you want to mail your donations in, it's 1080 Pecan Park Circle, Jackson, Mississippi, zip code 39209. And also, we have Bible study every third day, every Tuesday, starting at 6 p.m. Are there any other announcements? And also, following Bible study, we are the people at 7:30 on the third day of the week as well. On 90.1 WMPR. Are there any other announcements?
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Good to see everyone. It's a blessing. Just want to say a happy birthday to my daughter. She be turning 20. I know most everybody remember when I was hearing her. She be turning 20, y'all will. And also my sister, Remy, y'all, she has a birthday too this weekend.
Hallelujah. Praise God. Are there any other announcements? All right, there be no more announcements. We do a prepare to close. I'd like to say to the internet listening audience, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for tuning in.